I love the good and the beautiful. I hate the good and the beautiful. I don't know how I feel about the good and the beautiful. Let's talk about it. If you're new here, I'm Rian, a Christ-following wife and a homeschool mom to 3 boys. Here we talk all things homeschool, and we will learn together how to use our roles as wife, mom, teacher, and homemaker in order to glorify God. So this video has been a long time coming. I told you guys at the beginning of the year that I was going to totally step out of my comfort zone and try the good and the beautiful language arts for my 3rd grader. And it was only because I really just needed something open and go for the crazy season of life that we were in. And I had lots of people recommend it to me. I was going to give a follow-up to that around Christmas time, and we just got way behind, guys. Not gonna lie. We just got behind in school and everything. And so we've been playing a lot of catch up. And so now I feel like we've done enough of the curriculum that I can give you kind of a how it's going. Again, we haven't finished it, so I will probably give a more in-depth review of this in spring, closer to summertime. We're halfway through at least, so I feel like I can at least speak to this somewhat because I have lots of people asking. So if you remember, my big reservations were the fact that it is a Mormon curriculum. It is not a Christian curriculum. And while there are similarities in our religions, they are not the same thing. It also seemed too easy, and I am a rigorous curriculum lover, which take it or leave it, I don't know. So I don't know what I thought of this. In some ways, it really surpassed my expectations. And in some ways, it just kind of met my expectations, and my expectations weren't that great. So let me talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, or at least so far, what I've liked and not liked, and kind of my plan from here on out, which, spoiler alert, I don't have a plan nailed down, but I have kind of a general direction that I think I may be going, sort of, kind of. So here are the pros. This curriculum is not boring. It is not dry. So there are lots of different pictures in here. There are lots of different hands-on activities. So it is not just a typical workbook, okay? There are pretty pictures throughout. There is color. I mean, it's not the most colorful thing, but there is color involved. You're never doing just a plain old boring worksheet, okay? Now, that being said, I don't mind boring worksheets, but my kids probably appreciate more of this hands-on kind of fun style. We've done things where we had water and water glasses. We've done writing on windows. We've done games. We've done more of a crafty type thing where we made a little pumpkin. We've done a little bit of everything in this. So with your spelling words, you're on the floor, you're moving around, you're running, you're looking in mirrors, you're looking outside, you're hopping on one foot. I mean, it's not boring. I will give them that. Not boring at all.
Boing, boing, tink.
That being said, there's a lot of fluff. Again, I don't like fluff, but I have kiddos that do. It keeps their minds going, keeps them entertained. So that's a plus. Also with this curriculum, the time it takes is manageable, very, very manageable. It takes anywhere from 15 to maybe 30 minutes if we do all the activities and it's a heavy activity day. There is a part that is done with me, the teacher. So just for an example, I just opened this up. This is lesson 41, soft G, soft C. And so we practice our phonics cards. So you have those little yellow phonics cards. I'll show a picture up here. And you go over those, and that takes just a couple minutes. And then you will go over a poem. Takes a couple minutes. And then you have them go through and find the verbs later on, and then quiz them on soft G, soft C. And then you look at the words on the chart, say if it's soft or hard, as far as the C's and G's go and all this stuff. And then you work on a practice chart, which is in the appendix, takes a couple minutes. And then you talk about these Christmas trees, takes a couple minutes. So that part with me only took, let's say, 10 to 20 minutes. And then this is their independent practice. Now, that being said, I don't just give it to them and say, there you go. I probably could, but I don't want to have to go back and be like, oh, you misunderstood, and have to redo stuff, because that takes more time and would frustrate him to no end. There's almost always homophone practice. So here we are talking about through as in I go through the door, or through as in he threw the ball. And they have to pick the correct one and then talking about making ing words. They'd fill those in, and then they practice their spelling words. So I just make sure he knows what he's doing, and then I set him free to do that, which takes about 10, 15 minutes. And then I go back and grade it later. So that part doesn't take much from me. Just a reminder, I did do, this is level 2, in case you're confused. He is in 3rd grade, but he's a very young 3rd grader. And having never used this, I wasn't really sure what to expect. And some people said it was really rigorous. So I'm like, I'm just gonna start him at level 2. I will say, I don't think it's as rigorous as I thought it was going to be. When people said it was very rigorous, I probably could have done them in 3rd grade and been fine. But it's not super, super easy either. So there's that. Another thing I like about this is it's adaptable. As you saw, there's just different things that you check off. If there's something I just want to be like, we're not doing this, I can just cross it off and say we're not doing it. It's not like the entire next lesson is going to depend on that one thing. As long as you teach kind of like the basic, that was soft G, hard G, stuff like that. As long as you cover that, then it doesn't really matter how much of the rest you do or don't do, as far as if the next day's lesson is going to make sense or not. So there were some days that I'm like, I don't feel like you drawing on my windows. We're not doing that today. And then it always says at the end of each lesson to read for 10 minutes from the Good and the Beautiful approved book list. I don't do that because he has reading that he does with his Sunlight curriculum. And so that's his reading time. Another plus, in addition to it being adaptable and fun and manageable lengthwise, is that it touches a lot of subjects. So it's not just typical language arts. So this has phonics, reading, spelling, writing, grammar and punctuation, literature, poetry and memorization, art and geography. Now, I will say I have seen all of those things in this. However, I don't think it does any of those things in depth, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it does touch all those things. So I really love the geography days that we do have. So here's one on North America. So it just talks about which is bigger, color them different colors. So you're locating them, you're identifying their sizes, and then you're writing little sentences about them. I do like those days. However, I would not only have this for geography. And it also does picture study. I love the picture studies because I'm doing it with a kiddo who doesn't typically think about art. Like it's not something he's typically drawn to, but we can pull up these beautiful pictures and I just tell him, sit and look at detail. Don't just, oh, it's a windmill and pass on. Sit and look at some detail. Tell me what you see. And then he has to write different sentences throughout. They have different activities that you do with them each time. But I love that it has this in there because picture study and this kid would not typically get along. But if it's incorporated into his language arts, then he just kind of does it and doesn't complain about it. And the last pro that I have for this is it is very much grab and go. I do not have to plan anything. It tells you right in here what to do. And I love that. And like I said, after that teaching part, that independent practice really is pretty independent. I have to grade it and I have to kind of go over it with him in the beginning to make sure he knows what's expected of him, but it doesn't take anything from me other than that. Now, as far as the cons, I did say it's not boring, but like I said, some of that stuff is just really fluffy and really extra. And so I take it out when I'm not feeling it. I'm just like, dude, we're not doing this. And it makes the lesson shorter and he's usually fine with that. I try not to take out all the fun stuff because like I said, he likes it. And then sometimes some of the fun stuff does like require a lot of supplies. Like the other day, the ones with the glass and the water, I was like, I have to go upstairs and find glasses and what are we doing? But it ended up being worth it. He really liked that activity, so it was fine. So yes, it's fun, but it takes some frivolous activity sometimes and it takes some extra supplies sometimes that I don't always have the time or desire to go locate. So while I said it touches all of those subjects, like I said, I do not think this is an adequate geography by itself. By any means. It touches geography. It is not a geography curriculum. It's a language arts curriculum. And so we also incorporate geography in our Sunlight. So this is a great supplement, but I would not want to use this alone for that. The spelling, I feel like is a little weak. It's in there and it's in there almost every day, maybe even every day, but pretty close to every day. But my son isn't an exceptional speller. He's decent. And I feel like the words are kind of easy for him. And the lists are really short for him. But we do spelling elsewhere. So we do spelling workout. So again, this is more of just a supplement. So far, I have not seen very much grammar and punctuation in here. I've seen a lot of grammar as far as correct usage of words and a lot of, changing to ing and past tense, future tense, stuff like that. But as far as punctuation, I've seen pretty much nothing. So maybe that's a second semester thing that we're just not quite to yet, but I haven't seen that yet. And the writing is a little bit meh, like there's no, it's just here, I'm going to read this passage, here you answer this question, a complete sentence, which me, I love writing with ease, which is a lot of that, but it's not just that. And so I feel like the writing could be beefed up a little bit. And then my last con is, that it's not Christian. And I will say so far, I have not seen anything that I flat out hate in here. There's nothing that I've seen that I'm like, ugh, there's the Mormon stuff coming out. It's pretty much just basic stuff. I really just don't like that it's Mormon because I feel like I'm have to be extra aware and extra diligent to make sure that there's nothing, weird slipping in there. But I mean, even with Christian curriculum, men wrote it. It's not the Bible. It's not God's word. So you can't just be like, oh, I trust it completely. With Mormon stuff, I feel like I have to be even a little more extra cautious. I would not use any of their history curriculum necessarily for that reason. Their view on history is skewed because they're not looking at it from a biblical worldview. And so anyway, that's all I'll say about that. I also, real quick, would say that I was surprised at how kind of surfacey this is. And I kind of mentioned that before, where he probably could have gone ahead and done third grade because it wasn't as rigorous as what I thought people were saying it was. I don't know. I wish it was a tiny bit meatier, but all in all, there's a lot of things I love about this, guys. There's a lot of things I love. There's a lot of things I'm not crazy about. So what am I going to do next year? So life does seem to be maybe trending in a little more calm direction next year. Maybe. I mean, I'm not having another baby, so there's that. And we're not moving, Lord willing. So there's that. I don't plan to get COVID, but people don't really plan those things. So I think I'll have a little bit more capacity to do something different next year if I wanted to. Now, do I want that little bit of extra capacity to go to that is the real question. I don't know. So if I stick with this, we will be supplementing it even more. So we'll stick with our spelling program. I will not rely on just this for spelling, but I will also probably get back to our vocabulary. I feel like we kind of let vocabulary go this year. It was kind of an extra that we didn't really need. And I thought, oh, he'll get a lot of vocabulary in this. Meh. It's not really done great for vocabulary. So if we stick with this next year, I will probably bring back our vocabulary curriculum for him. It's to be decided if you need supplemental grammar too. So then at that point, I'm like, but everything I love about this with how easy it is and everything kind of gets washed out if I'm adding in all this other stuff. So I really don't know if that's the route I want to go. So if I choose not to stick with the Good and the Beautiful next year, we may try out Essentials in Writing. That is what my 5th grader tried this year for the first time. And so far I am loving it. And so that's something we'll look into, or we may go back to Writing with Ease and first language lessons. Those are pretty rigorous and very time consuming. So that would be a commitment, but I know it's good and I know it works. So I'm going to take these next few months and just 1, see how this finishes out. And 2, kind of see if our life really is going to be trending into kind of a more calm season. I'm hoping, so that we can beef up school a little bit. So I'm sorry that this was not really an answer to the question on, do you love it or do you not? But the main thing is I have not seen anything that is big, overtly Mormon. It really is open and go. And my kid loves it. Those are my big concerns. I just wish it was meatier and I wish it was Christian. So I don't know. That's what I have. So what is your experience with the Good and the Beautiful, if you have any experience? And what is your favorite language arts curriculum for that 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade level? Maybe I'm totally missing one that is just amazing that you would recommend. And be on the lookout. We have more curriculum reviews coming up for sure as we wrap up the school year. We have some day in the lives and biblical womanhood videos coming up soon. So subscribe if you haven't, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.